All right, let's start with a little review of solving equations because this is going to help with what we're doing today quite a bit. So here's my variable. So we know that we're solving for that. So we start by drawing a line through the equal sign all the way down. Now it says that 3 times 2 plus b equals 10. So here, 3 times 2, we can simplify this before we start solving the equation. So we have 6 plus b equals 10. And then this is a very simple equation because we're trying to get this on a side by itself. It's plus 6, so we subtract 6. So b is 10 minus 6, which is 4. All right, second example. We're still solving for b. So we have this portion right here of our equation, 1/2 times 4, that we can simplify before we start solving. So 1/2 of 4 is 2, plus b equals -8. And then it's plus 2, so we're going to subtract 2. If you do it to one side, you have to do it to the other. So we have that cancels out. We're left with b. Now be careful. -8 minus 2. Many people put 6. Write it out if you need to. -8 minus 2. Keep, change, change. Now we have two negatives. -8 plus -2. If they're like signs, you add to get 10, and it is negative. Okay, so our learning target for the day, I can write an equation in y equals mx plus b form given the slope and a point. And I really like this graphic because it is color-coded, and I'm all about color coding. So b is the y-intercept, m is the slope, and then remember x and y stay x and y, and they just name a point on the line. So we're going to be writing an equation in y equals mx plus b form given the slope and a point. Here's the slope, and here's the point. So this is really simple if you remember solving equations like we did in our whiteboard activity. The 2, 6 is our x and our y, and the slope, remember, is the m. So our goal is to write an equation of a line that passes through this point, 2, 6, and has a slope of 4. So remember what we're doing. We're writing it in y equals mx plus b. So we need to know what the m is, and we need to know what the b is. And we do know what the m is because remember, m is the slope. So I can start my equation y equals 4x, but what I'm missing is this b. I don't know what b is, but it's really easy to find out because we have an x and a y. Here's my x, and here's my y. So I can plug in 6 for y. I can plug in 4 for the m. I can plug in 2 for the x. And remember, if there's no symbol in between, it means multiplication, plus b. And then, just like our whiteboard activity, we can solve for b. So we're going to simplify this first. 8 plus b on one side and 6 on the other. And it is plus 8, so we're going to subtract 8. So now I have b equals 6 minus 8. Again, I suggest you write it off to the side. Even though you can use a calculator, 6, keep, change, change. So 6 plus a -8. Unlike signs you subtract, 8 minus 6 is 2, and they're more negative, so it's going to be -2. So now I know what my b is, so I can put it back up here into the equation, -2. This is the equation for a line that passes through 2x and has a slope of 4. And again, how we had that is we started out with the slope, so I wrote part of my equation, and then I plugged in the y for the y, the 2 for the x, the 4 for the slope, and I solved to get my y-intercept. Now remember what this tells us. This tells us that this line goes through -2, so it starts on the y-axis at 2, and it goes up 4 over 1, up 4 over 1. All right, example 2. So again, we are going to write an equation of a line that passes through this point, negative 3, 7, and has a slope of negative 3. So I'm going to start because I know y equals, I know that part, and I know that my slope is m. So if I'm writing it in y equals mx plus b, I can put my slope in for m. So I have 1/3 x, and now I just have to worry about my b. And again, how we find that is we can put negative 3 in for x, 7 in for y, and 1/3 in for m, and solve for b. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to get my y, which is 7, and I'm going to get my m, which is the slope, 1/3, and I'm going to get my x right here, negative 3, and remember, if there's no symbol in between, it means multiplication, and then carried the plus b down. Now I can solve for b. First, 1/3 times negative 3, that can be simplified. 1/3 times negative 3. 1/3 of 3 is 1. Positive times a negative is negative. But if you don't remember that, let's do it off to the side. 1/3 times negative 3. Remember, if there's not a denominator, we can open that door with a 1. And now, 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Positive times a negative is a negative. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and it's a negative. So please write it off to the side if you need to. So 1/3 of negative 3 is negative 1. I'm going to bring down my plus b equals 7. It's plus a negative 1, so we have to subtract a negative 1 or add the opposite. So plus 1, so b is 8. Now you're not done because you have to finish the equation, so we're going to take that 8 and put it back up here in the equation that we started before, plus 8. For this last example, I wanted to relate it back to what we've been doing in the past with graphing. So it says graph a line that passes. So we're going to graph a line that passes through the point 4, negative 2, and has a slope of 2. And then we're going to write the equation. So 4, negative 2. Remember, this 4 is your x, and this is your y. So we start at the origin, and we go over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up. Sorry, down 2. So here is 4, negative 2, right there. I'm going to erase all my marks. And then it says to graph if it has a slope of 2. Now I've tried to encourage you to define that. It's rise over run. So that means that it's 2, and we're going to open the door. There isn't anything in the denominator, so we're going to open the door with a 1. It's positive, so we're going up 2 to the right 1, starting at our starting point for negative 2. So we're going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, or down 2, back 1. And since we're still needing to find our y-intercept, I like making lots of points to make it accurate. So again, defining, we could have went up 2 over 1, but we could also reverse that and go down 2, back 1. So I'm going to do that until I hit that y-intercept right there. Now I can draw my line in, and I can find my y-intercept. So if I start with my framework, y equals, you know this is the rate or the slope, plus or minus my y-intercept. I can say y equals, my slope was 2, so 2x, and my y-intercept was a negative 10, way down there, so minus 10.